Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start by saying the 110th Congress has been really good to me. Last year I had the privilege of presenting with Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz the legislative branch appropriations bill, and this year, because Mr. Wicker went to the Senate, I was promoted here to join Chairman Edwards and present the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs bill. Even my college-age kids are impressed with this position I now hold to stand before you today. And I was thinking a minute ago, if I was back in January of 1997 when I first joined the Appropriations Committee, and I was talking to my colleagues, and I said on June the 24th, 2008, I would be sitting between Chairman Lewis and Chairman Rogers and Chairman Young and Chairman Regula and Chairman Wolf presenting the Military Construction and Veterans Affairs bill for almost $73 billion, the first thing they would have said is, in what year did we lose the majority? So that's exactly how I got here. I guess a little transition. Y'all didn't really get that, but that's how these things happen. But I'm very privileged to be here. I want to first thank Mr. Obey, because I believe in the big view that combining the Military Quality of Life Subcommittee with the Veterans Affairs is a good combination. I think it works well. I'm grateful that he made that recommendation to the Speaker as we began this Congress, because Chairman Edwards and I can see the entire continuum of care. And that's so important to understand how quality of life transitions straight from your service to being a veteran, and how important it is to keep it all together. And it wasn't together, and now it is. I want to thank former Chairman Lewis for the privilege to stand here and the extraordinary support that he and his staff have given me in both of these responsibilities in this Congress. I want to thank Chairman Edwards. He is the real deal, as they say, in terms of his commitment to the military, quality of life issues. He knows the families. He listens to the families. And frankly, he honors this position that the majority has entrusted him with. As he said, we had 19 hearings, well over 100 hours of he and I straight up with the people that come before us, asking us to meet these needs with this funding. I think it is so very important, and I applaud his leadership. The staff is extraordinary. He mentioned some: Carol, Tim, Donna, Mary, Walter, Martin, Liz, Kelly, Rob, Jeff. We'll go into more on the floor if we get the time. I hope we do on the floor this year. It's an honor for any of us to serve those who serve our country in uniform. And we need to remember that. As a matter of fact, the two parties haven't been around for the entire history of this republic, but men and women in the uniform of our armed forces have. And sometimes we need to remember that. And I think it's also very important to remember, sometimes it's easy to forget, that there was bipartisan commitments to engage men and women in harm's way on our behalf. And there darn sure better be bipartisan commitments to support them in every possible way. And so it's a great privilege for us to stand together in a bipartisan way and honor our nation's veterans and honor those men and women in uniform today. I'm asked all the time, are we doing what's right? Because there have been stories about Walter Reed. There's been stories about PTSD. There have been stories about suicides. There have been stories about the incredible burden that our veterans face in asymmetrical warfare and the loss of limbs and all the challenges they face. But I can look them honestly in the face this year, having been there through all these hearings and ask all the tough questions, that we are honoring this commitment, this trust that we should follow through on with these people who volunteer to stand between a threat and our civilian population. I believe it's there, and I stand today with Chairman Edwards saying that I believe this bill does that. The quality of life issues are so important. We talk about housing. Chairman Hobson is on his way, former Chairman Hobson is on his way out of the Congress this year. He was very involved in the reforms. I was on this committee back in the late 90s, and we were just beginning the process of privatizing housing. Let me tell you, sometimes private is a good word, I'd say to my colleagues on the other side, because privatized housing for the military is a huge success. I've been on base, and I've asked the questions, and they love the housing options they have, and that's a success of the last 12 years, and it has really ramped up quality of life with child development centers for moms that are left back and the kids, and sometimes it's the dad with the kids because the spouse is deployed. Huge issues. Rehab, polytrauma, quality of life issues are so key. That's where the subcommittees work. is so necessary. With the people who serve, I'm blown away at the quality of the chiefs of our services, the leading enlisted personnel of our services, the commanders of the different commands around the world. These people understand what it takes to win the hearts and minds of the people around the world without bombs and bullets. And that is so important that we give them the tools to do that, but they're extraordinary. Many times they're better diplomats than the people at the State Department. That's what I have seen. We heard about how the currency has been devalued around the world. We heard also, like every subcommittee, about the energy cost and the burdens that places on them. But we heard most of all about how these deployments really hurt families. And this 15 months, 12 months was unacceptable. 12 to 12 is not sustainable. 12 to 24 is not sustainable. Only 12 to 36 is sustainable. But it's so important that we honor the commitment to these families. I just want to say in closing that a $4.3 billion increase for veterans is great. But a $14.3 billion increase for veterans would not be enough if it doesn't come with the reforms necessary to hold any federal bureaucracy. And the VA is a bureaucracy. Every member of Congress knows the VA is a bureaucracy. Hard to get them to move anywhere. They're stuck in their old ways and their own ways. It's up to this subcommittee to force the reforms. The IG is an important step, but just finding out what went wrong is not enough. It is promoting the reforms to drive and mandate the efficiencies and accountability for the veterans themselves so that the dollars mean real benefits and so that we're not here 2 years from now with a new IG report or a GAO report saying, oh, we gave them all this new money and there was waste, fraud, and abuse right throughout the VA. So that's up to us. And it's important that we do both. That we give them the resources that they need, but that we hold them accountable for those resources. I also want to say there's a lot of talk today about authorizing and appropriations. This bill lines up with the HASC. This bill lines up with the authorizers. We interfaced with the authorizers throughout this process. So this is a work product that we can all support. I urge support. I thank the chairman for what I think is an outstanding bill, and I thank you very much for the time. Yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I have an amendment to this. Mr. Chairman,